Shalom, welcome to the Jewish View. My name is Rabbi Nachman Simon with the CHABAD of DELMAR, and together with my co-host, Mark Ronich of Statewide News Service, jbiztechphilly.com, and as you can see here, columnist for the Jewish Press.
Right, Rabbi, I'm enjoying doing all of that, but in the column in the Jewish Press, it's called Albany Beat, and I talk about how government relates to the Jewish community, or doesn't, as the case may be. So talk about government and Jews. We have a combination of that. A return guest, Assemblyman Steve Katz from Yorktown in Westchester County, northern Westchester. Welcome back to the Jewish View.
Thank you.
So it's great to see you again. Now, from what I understand, I have a bit of a disappointing thing that you're actually retiring from the Assembly.
Correct. I am the only legislator who is
announced
voluntarily
not going out in handcuffs.
Under indictment or anything else.
How many years were
term
you
limiting myself out?
How many years have you been there?
6 years, 3 terms.
You think that's enough? I mean, you think that's for anyway? Is that your personal decision, or you think that in general, an assemblyman should just time out after 3
This was my
terms?
personal opinion, but I believe 100% that 8 years should be the maximum for everybody. If it's good enough for the President of the United States, it should be good enough for everybody. Every elected official in this country, as far as I'm concerned. Having seen what I've seen, I can guarantee you that.
Now tell me, what have you seen? What has been your impression in your time in your 6 years in the legislature?
A combination of rank corruption, the majority moving its agenda along that, as far as I'm concerned, has been nothing but destructive to the state of New York. As we can see in terms of every single year, we have a $2 billion budget deficit in the state budget, in which our revenue is $2 billion less than what we spend. So that in itself should give pretty good idea of the dismal circumstances that we are living under.
So is it a shell game where, because the governor and comptroller say that we're in the plus, we're in the black?
No, we were in the black the 1 year that we got that court settlement.
Yeah.
Okay. That was a one year, one-time deal. No, we're not in the black by any stretch of the imagination.
Not even this year.
We're only in the black. We're in the black because we do things like what they call sweeps. Sweeps. We sweep out the publicly funded different agencies to fill the general fund, so that we'll then be able to have a balanced budget.
There's 2 ways to get a balanced budget. You feel that the revenue should be increased, I mean, more business?
Yes.
Or just that cut out some of the fluff, and obviously you can cut out $2 billion and cut it down to size.
Well,
2 ways to,
well, number one,
equalize
New
it.
York is never, with the politicians that we have running this place, never going to cut the budget, cut the fat, cut the, all that stuff. That's not going to happen. What we need to do is have revenue enough to meet the demands that this state requires. That's a whole nother ballgame.
Which way? I just all know.
The different ways that can be done. Number one, when you consider that New York State is number 50th in the desirability to open up a business in the United States, that does not speak well for the regulations, the taxes, the encumbrances that are placed upon a small or middle-sized businessman here in the state of New York. It is that difficult. I own a veterinary hospital in the Bronx that is considered a small business. I can promise you, I am mightily disengaged, number one, because I have nothing but encumbrances on me in the terms of fees, taxes, regulations, oversight that I have to endure. Okay, I can never advance here in the state of New York with what I have to endure with. And so there's number one. Number two, you want to have things that will increase our revenue. Businesses, we have things that are right available here right now. One is by being patriotic and helping us get away from Arab oil by becoming energy self-sufficient and having horizontal hydrofracking in the places in the West of the state that desperately need revenue, that look like neutron bomb cities because so many people have fled over in the last 10 years. We've had over 2 million people leave. That's where they've left. They haven't left New York City where they have all that wealth, social welfare, social programs. That's not where they leave. They leave in the places in upstate New York that have no jobs, high taxes, and what are they going to do? No future. So that is one element. And the other one is to look to Colorado for adult use marijuana.
Why do you say that's such a big thing? I mean, what, for revenue?
Absolutely. For revenue, for the fact that right now it is controlled by illegal cartels, much of that money ending up going to terrorist organizations. So yes, I would like to see that, considering that marijuana is the largest cash crop in the United States, and that we all grow up and be realistic. Prohibition is something that should have died in the 1930s for this too, and the reasons that it's even illegal are odious, caused by a racist bureaucrat in 1937 who tried to keep his job. So if you look into the history of it, it's odious enough. The fact that New York, Colorado this past year, with no extra illegal activity, no extra people going to jail, none of those things, because I'm there every other week. I have a business there, okay? None of those things. They realized a revenue of $1 billion for the state. If you consider, and they're using that for infrastructure and education, and if you consider that New York is 4 times the size of Colorado, there's your $4 billion, $2 billion deficit, and then, you know what? We don't even expect to get the $2 billion back. Go spend it as you see fit, and leave us alone now. Here's your revenue. That's what I would like to see.
And you don't see with the marijuana, you don't see any negatives, like more people drugged out?
No, I haven't seen that. I've been a part of legal marijuana industry, medical marijuana, okay, for the last 3 years. Ever since adult use became legal in Colorado. And I have a business right now that produces products for dogs that for very specific conditions that happen to contain some compounds from the cannabis plant that absolutely don't get you high, that are non-addictive, and as a matter of fact, are what they use for children with the likes of Dravet syndrome, where they have over 100 grand mal seizures a day. And they're given this as a liquid, as a cherry-flavored liquid. It's called cannabidiol, CBD, well known, called Charlotte's Web out in California. And as a member of the health committee in the assembly, when they had the hearing on legal medical marijuana down in Mineola, New York, there were 10 families with children between 2 and ages of 10 that all suffered from Dravet syndrome, and all 10, these were lawyers, store owners, the flesh of our state, okay, that which makes our blood flow. And they were all leaving within 48 hours to go to Colorado because they couldn't obtain the medicine here in New York.
So now when you give this medicine to dogs, I mean, you don't know what the reaction...
Well, you know 100% because I'm a man of science, my dear friend.
Yeah.
This has been studied. As a matter of fact, my products currently are undergoing clinical trials at the University of Pennsylvania College of Veterinary Medicine.
Okay.
So
that's why I was asking you more about it.
No,
yeah.
This is real medicine.
Well, you know what?
For specific conditions, joint mobility, anxiety, pruritus, which is excessive scratching due to allergies. My practice in the Bronx happens to be an epicenter.
Yeah.
Just like it's an epicenter for children's, not only allergies, asthma, children's asthma.
Oh, Bronx is very big with, yeah.
It's the same for dogs with allergies. So I've become one of the world's experts on allergies in dogs of my 20 plus years in the Bronx. And so that is what I made a formula for. Stop the itching, okay? None of these have anything to do with the one. There are 400 different compounds in the cannabis plant, all of which have medicinal value that are currently being studied in some major institutions here in the United States for MS, for metastasis, for PTSD in soldiers, which in Israel it's been legal for the last 15 years.
And no side effects
No
or
side
bad
effects.
things,
Go
right?
take a look in Israel.
Yeah.
One of the centers for learning of the medicinal uses of cannabis, Dr. Meshulam at
But
University of
there's
Tel
a
Aviv.
difference between, I don't know if anybody would argue with medical. I mean, if someone needs something medically, obviously like steroids, for example, my sister's an oncologist and she says, I give out steroids every day, but obviously for a normal person, it's actually,
Here's what I can tell you, okay? Number one, it's certainly less dangerous and proven so than alcohol, okay? It's a different culture,
Yeah.
okay? That's the only difference. Because it's absolutely, it's not a gateway drug. You know what I do when I give lectures, okay? And I'm in a room with people my age, and I say to them, how many of you tried marijuana when you were in college?
Yeah.
Okay? And how many of you are addicted to marijuana or heroin right now?
0.
Okay? That's the reality. It's just a reality check. It's time to grow up. There's nothing morally wrong with this on any level. I can give you for both on the medical side, and yes, there are people who can't tolerate alcohol, like myself, okay, who on occasion would like to relax in a way that is relaxing that I've had as part of my culture since I've been in college in the 1970s. So, I don't think there's anything, I think I'm pretty okay right now.
You are.
So is the
yes.
rest of the people that I deal with, who are some of the leaders of industry, so who are some hedge fund managers, who are financiers, who are scientists. I'm dealing with a fascinating group of people in Colorado because I am at the cutting edge of this entire 21st century, all natural. This is going to be the equivalent of slippery elm bark, which produced aspirin for us, salicylic acid. And that's the research that's happening worldwide right now. Forget about all those negative stigmas and pejoratives. They are so 20th century right now that I can't begin to tell you. Just take a look at the model in Colorado. That's all you have to do. Don't have to reinvent the wheel. They've got all the laws. It's just like for alcohol.
Yep.
You sell it, you're going to be, to a minor, you're going to be in trouble.
So let's go back for a minute to the state legislature.
Sure.
I mean, you have been there to see the people in the highest level of government being taken away in handcuffs or being indicted and convicted. I mean, what does that, do to your temperament in the legislature when you see this happening? And it's so frustrating because, you're not, whether it's Republican or Democrat, it doesn't matter.
Absolutely.
But it's something that's just so jarring.
You know what it reaffirms for me? What I knew before I became an assemblyman or a politician of any sort, and that's we need term limits. You've got to get term limits.
Well, they'll just do the corruption in a shorter period of time. No, just joking.
No.
I'm joking.
And if you have it so they can't become lobbyists afterward, look, here's my beliefs, okay? I laid forth from day one what I believed would make Albany clean, and they're pretty rigid.
Yeah.
In terms of campaign finance, I'm personally for public campaign financing.
Right.
Okay, I don't want any of this stuff.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I'm for term limits, for sure, for everybody.
Do you
if you have two of those.
Yeah, do you self-finance your campaigns?
I did my first one.
And what about your others?
I didn't need a lot of money after that.
You didn't have a lot
I had
of...
a couple of fundraisers for not a lot of money.
So how much did it cost you to run?
The first time?
Yeah.
$170,000.
Okay. And you had a primary and all that because it was an open seat?
I had a primary that because I was not the Republican endorsed candidate.
No, you weren't.
That's
and
right.
you beat that. Yeah.
Correct.
Who did you run? Who was the Republican endorsed candidate?
Borkowski, his name was.
Oh, okay. So,
Okay.
and he just went away. He never challenged you again, or
No.
do you think he'll run now that it's an open seat again, or is he out of the district?
No, he's not going to run again. There's a few people that are going to run.
Will your seat flip to a Democrat
No, it'll remain Republican.
because of the enrollment, or
Essentially, it's still a red district.
Okay.
Okay.
Not in
amidst
the,
the sea of blue.
not
It's
in
a
the
red
red,
district.
not in the red, but it's a red.
No, it's not in the red.
Uh,
Well,
so-
part of Westchester is, yeah.
So so your district is northern Westchester and most of Putnam?
Yes,
Not all of Putnam?
not all.
No.
4 of the 6 towns.
Right. So
So-
what do you see as your successor? Who is your successor going to be?
Kevin Byrne.
Kevin Byrne.
Kevin Byrne, B-Y-R-N-E.
E.
He's a young man.
Irish.
Who's been Scotch-Irish.
Well, not Jewish.
He's
so
not Jewish.
we're going to lose another
We're
Jewish
gonna-
seat.
Correct. This is, the Hamish seat is about to be lost.
You know,
okay?
Alan
Right,
Maisel
and not
left,
bringing-
Alec
not bringing in a
Procrasny.
landsman, okay? Mainly because there was none to choose from. That's number one. And number two, I'm going to certainly always go with the person who I believe would serve our
No, I have-
assembly district the best.
No
And-
doubt,
yeah,
but-
and Kevin Byrne is a good man. He plays the bagpipes at all the events.
Oh.
He's been a real asset to Putnam County ever since he's been
I
young.
Well-
want to just go back to your list of how to correct government, because I think that's very important. You said public financing, your term limits.
Term limits, those are.
Those are the main two.
No, if, the other one is that every single bill, number one, you don't need to be in Albany for more than 2 months out of this year. I know it, I've seen it. They bleed this thing out for 6 months so they get paid, so they can justify their pay. Truly, we have days Monday and Tuesday. I've never seen anything like it, and it's simply for the sake of keeping their salary. It costs us $41.5 million a month to keep the legislature up in Albany. If we were able to actually do what we're supposed to do, which work every day from 10 to 4, call it 10 to 4, there's banker's hours for it. We don't do anything like that, okay? We would finish all the work and then some, okay? And save our state, the taxpayers, $165 million a year.
For the extra 4 months or something.
Absolutely.
Well,
I mean, originally, remember, the legislature met for 3 months out of the year.
Yeah, they left in March, yeah.
Okay, that was for 150 years, that's how they met.
And
So now, they did that to justify a pay raise. And so back then, they did 2 months worth of work in 3 months. Now they do 2 months of worth of work in 6 months. And now they're having the chutzpah to ask for a year's worth of, to
But
be
it-
full-time to get paid more.
But I
I've
think
never
it's-
seen anything so outrageous in my life.
I think it's the same number of days just spread out over 6 months, as opposed to the 3 months.
Yes, exactly.
It's the
That's
same
scam
as the
of it.
3 month.
And that's the scam of it. Yep, 55 legislative days.
And they had that in
Same.
yeah, right.
That's right. So it's a shell game.
It gives them more time
once
to
again.
think about and ponder these
Like
heavy
the
issues.
budget. We got to think about the budget for an hour before we started to vote on it. And there were parts of that budget, it said on it, TBD,
To be determined.
to be determined. How much they're gonna, it's gonna cost us taxpayers. And we actually voted for it. We voted to pass it.
Except you.
Of course not. Of course I didn't. Is that any way to be a responsible steward of a $154 billion budget? I dare say no. And I wanted us to walk out, all of us, even the Democrats, just to tell the governor that, no, we are not your rubber stamp.
Yeah.
You have this pathologic need to get it done on the 31st. This was on Friday the 31st.
Right.
Do you think anybody in this state, other than yourself, could care less if it gets passed on Monday? Where we at least would get to properly vet it, take it back to our constituents, actually read it maybe, before we voted on it? It's only for him. And that is sick. That is psychotic. Okay, to have the audacity to do that to my state and to make us look like fools like that.
No, it's
Democrat or Republican, you have separation of the different, executive branch
Right.
and the legislative branch,
and
right?
the
And
judicial.
judicial branch,
Right.
right? They're supposed to be separate. We are nothing but a rubber stamp of the governor. It's disgraceful.
And what, the Republicans in the Assembly are like 42
Yeah,
members,
they're-
41,
they're-
42 members.
They're not even an afterthought at this point. Honestly, we lose every 110 to 40 every single vote.
It's
So it
such
doesn't
a,
make, It's ridiculous.
Do you-
Where it makes a difference is in the Senate,
Right.
and those Senate Republicans are utterly feckless and have no theology other than the religion of my campaigning once again and getting
Re-election,
reelected.
yeah.
Okay, that is their theology. I've never seen anything like it. There's not one leader up there in the Senate. None. Zero. So it's a sad state that we're in, and I hate to talk about it like this.
Why don't you run a little bit, instead of running away, maybe you should raise yourself up a little bit.
Because I'm a citizen legislator, and I've done what I said I would do. I have spoken for the people who believed in me and voted for me and what I believed in and what we believed in, and I believe that it's time for someone else to do this. I'm going back into the private sector because my personal mantra is to jobs, job creation.
Mhm.
And in my business already, we've created 20 jobs. That's what I intend to do across the country.
Really?
This
What
is-
do you plan on doing
Yeah,
across?
that's the thing, exactly what.
I'm sorry?
What do you plan on doing? What kind of business?
My business is, I'm a veterinarian by
Right.
trade, and I invented, so far, 3 different formulas for different conditions in dogs that have absolutely been remarkable in their effectiveness. And so now I partnered with a large company out in Colorado, and we are currently manufacturing it and selling it worldwide. And it's taking up more and more of my time.
Would you
And that
close
is
up your
being
practice?
effective to me. That's doing something, really doing something. I'm employing people. I'm giving people jobs. That's what we're all about. And it's the entrepreneurial spirit
Entrepreneurial
of
spirit,
America. It's the spirit of entrepreneurialism of our history, and I'm just following that in as trying to walk as righteous a path as my Judaism has taught me for my whole life.
Oh, excellent.
Tell me, are you going to give up your veterinary practice, or?
No. I go there I'm usually there once a week these days.
So you'll be able to
I'll be able to
manage
continue that. Yes,
to-
I have staff who, other veterinarians taking care of it.
And do you have certain patients, so to speak, who say, I only want to see Dr. Katz?
That's why I'm there once a week.
That's why you're there once a week, okay.
Those are the people I see, the people who want to see me. It's true.
Because I know that there's a connection between the
A-
owner and the pet and the doctor.
It's a
and
spiritual connection.
It is, it really is.
Absolutely. It's a bond of love, 100%. They call on me when when their normal routine of love with their pet is somehow broken. That's when I get the call.
Are you going to miss Pet Advocacy Day here at the legislature?
Well, I was never invited to it, number one. I'm the only veterinarian in
And
the
why?
legislature.
Why?
Because it was started by someone who has severe psychiatric problems, and that's Greg Ball. And, we don't need to talk about him anymore.
Oh. No, but I thought it was, now Jim Tedisco is,
He's following that tradition.
Oh, well, now he'll be
It's
in
a
the,
tradition.
Now he'll be in the Senate, so, and you're out, so, okay. Oh, it's amazing. You have a lot of bills here that are pet-oriented. You have a bill relating to requiring animal dealers to disclose information about disposition of unwanted animals kept as pets. Is that something, will you regret not being able to do anything with these? You have a bill
The
relating to
bills?
backyard animal breeding.
Here, let me tell you about the bills, okay? Number one, that would be one of the changes that I would have right now, is that, number one, any bill that goes before the Assembly has to have a Senate companion. That's number one, because I can't tell you, at least a third of the bills that we waste our time on are one-house bills that have no chance of becoming the law, because they're one-house bills. That for sure. And number two, I would allow every member, Republican or Democrat, to be able to have at least X number of bills per year, let's call it 6, half a dozen, that doesn't go through committee, that goes straight to the Assembly floor to be voted on. Because since 1974, if you consider that roughly 1,000 bills a year are voted on by the Assembly, that's our average, Sometimes it's 1,100, 1,200.
Yeah.
It's never less than 9.
Right.
Okay, most in the country, more than the Congress. But if you consider that we've had since 1970, call it 41,000 bills that have been voted on. Okay,
Right.
if you take away the home rule bills, which everybody
Right.
votes for you, okay,
Yeah.
don't count those. That leaves you roughly 26,000 bills. Do you know how many of those were authored by a Republican and went through the Assembly and voted upon favorably and then became the law?
I could count 10.
5.
5, okay, well, there you go.
5 out of 26,000. So, that sort of gives you an idea of the odds that we call any bill that we put in. What do we call that bill before it goes before the committee and goes through the whole? We call it death row.
Okay,
Okay, that's what it is, because we know it's never going to pass. So things like term limits, okay,
Right,
things like reducing taxes, things like that we want to put in, never see the light of day because they refuse to take it out of the committee.
what about,
To have the guts to vote on it. Let's hear you vote on it. How do you feel about term limits? You going to vote for it or no? We'll never know. Never.
what about the Spirit of 76 bill that Jim Tedisco has been pushing, where it needs 76, a bill should come to the floor with 76 members sponsoring it or supporting it, as opposed to 76 Democrats only supporting it,
I'll take anything to help.
But
right now.
but are you,
Am I fervent about it? It's another, anything to chip away at that, honestly.
I wrote a column that's in the Jewish press that said, when does 76 not the majority of 150?
Right.
And when the Assembly does the counting, when the Assembly does the math, and then I explained what that meant, because, it's essentially, there are several bills that, could go to the floor with Republican help and be voted on, and it just isn't happening,
Not many. Okay, not many.
So what do you think of, on your way out, what do you think of Brian Kolb as the leader? Is he feckless? Is he?
He does the best he can, given the fact that we're going to lose every vote, 110 to 40. Doesn't give him a whole lot of leeway or leverage, does it? So, given that fact, he's doing a fine job.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I mean,
Well,
honestly.
people just on the other hand, at least, you're right, maybe in actuality he can pass, but he should be screaming, just throwing it out to the public, hey, this is craziness, or,
I believe that we could have made a little bit of a difference had we walked out during the budget vote.
Mm-hmm.
Because then at least the New York Times would have picked that up. New York State Assembly Republicans walk out refusing to vote on something they got in an hour. Okay, so that would have made a difference.
Something-
screaming a little more.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah,
But,
some grandstanding or whatever.
I'm all
yeah.
for that.
Yeah, you got
I've
it.
been since I got here.
What did we not talk to you about that you'd like to leave us as a parting words?
I think we pretty much covered everything. I mean, this has been a very fascinating experience for me. I met some incredible people. That was the best thing about it. Serving my district was by far the best thing about it. Coming to Albany was the worst thing about it.
Wow.
Because I lost every vote, 110 to 40, and didn't have a chance to give any of 30 years of business advice to this state, who refuses to hear anything other than pandering to, number one, New York City and its social requirements.
Wow. So what do you have any hope for this legislature? You seem to be
No,
really
I
down.
don't.
You don't.
I don't. No, not in its current makeup and currently the way the Constitution is with it, and the coziness and the iron will that the governor places on it. The combination of that is killing our state. And all you need to do is, can anybody try to maybe take a look and see why 2 million people left in the last 10 years? Can anybody take a look in the mirror and, who's responsible for this and actually try to do something about it? Because we have not tried to do anything about this in the last 6 years that I've been there. I promise you, nothing.
But you know, the population in the state keeps, does go up according to the census.
If you look where?
It's just not going
Not
up
it-
as fast as the
No,
other
it's going
states.
up in the greater New York City area. It is dying upstate.
Right.
Everywhere. Schenectady, Utica, you name it.
Do you think the
Jamestown.
casino's going to have anything?
No, it's a terrible tax placed on the good people. Take a look at Atlantic City. Did it do anything for Atlantic City? Ever been to Atlantic City?
Well,
you
I
go to
understand.
Atlantic City for 5 miles before you hit the hotels. You have one after another. We buy gold. We buy gold. We buy gold. There's a reason that they're thriving, those pawn shops, buying gold. Why do you think? And then there's nothing around that area.
Chris.
You just got the strip, and the rest of it is just as it was when it was blighted before they started building the casinos and made so many promises to the people
So
of the state.
you don't see the
No, it's an
Catskills,
aggressive tax.
you don't see the Catskills
Absolutely
booming
not.
and
First of all, every state now around us has. Massachusetts has
Right.
it.
Connecticut,
Pennsylvania,
Pennsylvania, right.
New Jersey, obviously.
Right.
So, no, they're, over the course of this past year, there was a 3% net loss nationally at casinos for exactly that,
Well, now that we're starting at zero, we don't have a net loss. We can only, we'll be at the low, buy low, sell high,
There
so
you go.
we're getting in at the low level.
We are getting in the low level. Unfortunately, we'll stay right there, too.
Well, it's been a pleasure,
Yes,
Steve.
Steve,
really.
you did some great work and in the assembly, and we give you the blessing for more success in what your
Thank you so much,
future
Rabbi.
endeavors, and do it with good health.
It's been a
Thank you
pleasure,
so
Steve.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.